Hey all, Ron here from Military Images Magazine with a new episode of Life on the Civil War Research Trail. Today, I want to take you to Chambersburg, Pennsylvania, July 30th, 1864. On that day, chaos reigned in the streets of the town as squads of Confederate soldiers fanned out and began the grim task of torching the buildings, the homes, everything in town, all in retaliation for recent Union depredations in Virginia. The enemy soldiers, the Confederates, broke down doors, plundered valuables, smashed furniture, dumped flammable liquid or oil over handiwork and other precious heirlooms, and applied lit matches to everything. The resulting fire spread quickly across town, raged out of control. Residents fled for their lives, including a young woman named Alice Snively. She just escaped the flames. She could have died. She just escaped the flames that engulfed her home on Main Street, right in the middle of Chambersburg. Alice got away with her life, and that was all. Everything else was gone. She had recently married the man pictured here, Dr. Isaac Newton Snively. He was away from home on some personal business or a professional matter. Meanwhile, the residence was burned and everything was gone, and Alice barely escaped with her life. Dr. Snively saw the columns of thick black smoke drifting up, mingling with similar columns from hundreds of other buildings, spreading out into a vast crown against the sultry summer sky. He hurried home as quickly as he could, but there was nothing that could be done. He and Alice were left destitute. That loss of everything might have extinguished the hopes of another man, another woman, another couple, but not the Sniveleys. Dr. Snively, the young physician, had worked his way from an orphan to a partner in a lucrative medical practice. The loss of the property and his business, it wasn't going to discourage him from achieving his aims. Dr. Snively's journey began about 25 years earlier in Waynesboro, located on the Pennsylvania-Maryland border, about 20 miles away from Chambersburg. He was the fifth of 7 children born to a family of Swiss descent, and his parents named him after the famous English physicist. They had high hopes for the young man, for the little boy, for the infant. His mother and father, though they brought him up well, they died when young Isaac Newton Snively was only 14 years old, forcing him to live with an uncle's family. They took good care of him. His uncle and aunt happened to own a fine library, and young Snively began reading. And there he discovered a passion for learning. Turns out he was an excellent student. He excelled in his studies and continued his education at private schools and a commercial college called Duff's Commercial College in Pittsburgh. Well, he graduated in 1857 and then found a job as a school teacher back in Waynesboro. After school, after a long day teaching kids in school, he studied medicine with a local physician. He moved to Chambersburg in 1859 and became a pupil of a well-trained veteran physician named Dr. John Richards, and he added to his education by studying at Jefferson Medical College in Philadelphia. When the war came, young Snively was still in school at Jefferson Medical College. He graduated in June of 1863, and at that time, Governor Andrew Curtin called for volunteers to defend the Keystone State against General Robert E. Lee's invading Army of Northern Virginia. Snively, fresh out of college, signed up immediately in Harrisburg. There, the state authorities assigned him to Camp Curtin and then dispatched him as an assistant surgeon to one of the emergency infantry regiments, the 20th Pennsylvania. And that regiment participated in limited enemy action during those tense days leading up to the culminating Battle of Gettysburg. Dr. Snively, or should I say, Assistant Surgeon Snively, remained in the 20th Pennsylvania Emergency Infantry until August of 1863, when he left and mustered out of the Army. That was after 2 months' service. He returned to Chambersburg and picked up with his life, became a partner in practice with his former instructor, Dr. Richards, who also managed the local hospital. Things were beginning to look good, even though they were in the middle of the war. But young Dr. Snively had his hands full managing patients in the hospital, getting some clientele, and getting married. He married Alice. Her name is Alice Barr, and they married in December of 1863. Shortly before that marriage, Dr. Snively declined a commission. He was offered the surgeon, the head medical man, the surgeon of the 155th Pennsylvania Infantry. And then he also turned down another appointment to serve in a Marine hospital on the West Coast. Instead, he chose to stay in the hospital in Chambersburg and be with his newlywed wife. Then came the burning of Chambersburg. It was the third raid on the town, escaped harm, significant harm in the first two raids, but that third raid is the one where John McCausland and his Confederates burned the town. The burning of Chambersburg brought Snively back into the war. He was eager to support his wife and rebuild his life and rejoin the Army. And he did that when he reported to the military hospital in Beverly, New Jersey, which is located on the banks of the Delaware River across from Philadelphia. He managed 2 wards in that hospital until January 1865, and then he resigned and moved to Waynesboro to take the place of a doctor who had recently died. Then the war ended. Snively continued in his chosen profession. He became a prosperous physician, an eye surgeon, and a founder of the County Medical Society. He was also a member of his local Grand Army of the Republic post, serving as surgeon, appropriately enough, of that post. He also belonged to various professional and fraternal organizations and was a stalwart member of the Republican Party, the party of Lincoln and Grant, and also active in his Presbyterian church. He played a key role in other civic and business matters, bringing the railroad to Waynesboro, and became president of the Baltimore and Cumberland Valley Railroad in 1882. He also owned a mine and labored for years to secure money so that it could be developed. About 1910, he attracted a legend in the gold mining industry. His name is Thomas F. Tom Walsh, who pledged $1 million to fund the venture. But Walsh died soon after, and the promised capital was never delivered. Walsh's daughter, some of you who may be aware of that name, Evelyn Walsh McLean, was noted for her ownership of a particular jewel that many of you know about called the Hope Diamond. The Sniveleys lived comfortably, though they never realized the dream of that mine. They did live comfortably on their farm, which was called Antietam Home. Alice, who fled for her life in Chambersburg in 1864, lived a good long life. She died in 1902. 3 of their 7 children, all boys, survived her. Dr. Snively remarried 2 years later, and their union lasted until his death in 1913, about age 74. So thanks for listening to the story of Dr. Isaac Snively his wife Alice, and the burning of Chambersburg, Pennsylvania in 1864. Until the next episode of Life on the Civil War Research Trail, we'll see you. Bye.